I fulfill your expectations.
Yes.
We start in a minute, sir.
I fulfill your expectations.
Yes.
So, good evening, everyone. And good evening to those who are joining from India and Southeast Asian countries. We have an alum who is joining from Indonesia today. And so, good evening to all of you. Good morning to those who are joining from Americas, especially Bhalerao sir, Praveen sir. Good morning to you. And a very good afternoon to people who are going to join us from Europe, Africa. And welcome to all the alumni who would be seeing our program on the YouTube stream today or maybe later on. So this is the episode number 9, Meet the Alumni. And today we have Engineer Prakash Bhalerao sir. Joining with him would be Engineer Praveen Kankariya, 1987 Computer Science. So welcome to both of you. Today also, as we are aware, today marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11 attacks. So 20 years have passed since the world changed fundamentally in several ways, I would say. It is also the first time since the US forces left Afghanistan. So now Taliban is back in Afghanistan. The US armed forces are back in the mainland. And it is sort of a status quo that has been now brought back after 20 long years of fighting, 20 long years of bloodshed all over the world. The US is continuously being challenged. And as they say, when the 20th century was of oil, this 21st century surely would be of advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, Internet of Things. So whoever has a control on these big technologies would be controlling the future and would be surely the next superpower. So it is very appropriate that we have two distinguished alums amongst us today who are from the technology field, and he would be talking us about the entire revolution in the IT industry with their personal experiences and sharing their life journey overall for the past 50 years. So we have Engineer Shri Prakash Bhalerao, who is a high-tech entrepreneur, angel investor, a venture capitalist from California, USA. I would be telling more about him later on. So he has spent close to 50 years in the US in the IT industry, and he would be sharing his thoughts about his journey in the IT revolution, what the future holds for world in general and India in particular. Of course, he would be sharing a few things about college also, I believe. And with him would be Engineer Praveen Kankariya, who would be joining for an impromptu conversation with him. Engineer Praveen Kankariya, who was a guest at the 6th episode of the Meet the Alumni series that we had. He is from 1987 Computer Science. So welcome to both the alumni. Thank you, sir, for attending today's session. It is also a piece of good news that GSITS has secured 181st rank in the recently conducted NIRF rankings. So we have got a 60, I would say we have jumped our ranking by 60 points this year. So we are the 181st college in India now. and the vision is to go in the next 100. So that is a good information, positive piece of information that I wanted to share before we start. So we start with our function, and I would like to invite the president of Alumni Association, Engineer Shri Sandeep Kansal, for his welcome address and his thoughts.
Good evening, friends. A very warm welcome on behalf of SGSITS Alumni Association. Very good morning to Engineer Prakash Bhalerao ji and Engineer Praveen Kankariya, two stalwarts from IT industry and two of our very distinguished alumni who have consented to join us today. This, as Ashutosh said, this week has brought a lot of cheers for SGSITS. We got a very big jump in NIRF ranking. And let me tell you one thing, as some of you must be aware, alumni contribution plays a very important role in NIRF ranking, and we got pretty high score in that. And special thanks to Dr. D.B. Phatak for that, who handled alumni affairs at IIT Mumbai for a long time, and he keep on guiding us regularly. And as I was telling him before the program started, that we need his encouragement and motivational speech once again. So we'll be inviting him shortly for that. So thank you, Patak sir. So it's a matter of great pride for Alumni Association also. Alumni have been contributing very regularly, and recently Alumni Association has become very dynamic, very vibrant, and we are adapting to different things very fast. COVID gave us an opportunity to connect with our alumni all over the world. Otherwise, as you must be aware, most of the programs were restricted to local alumni. But this gave us a platform to connect with alumni globally. And especially last Alumni Day, which was held in December, that program was seen by at least 10,000 alumni on Facebook and YouTube Live. So that was a wonderful achievement. So I hope we keep on adding new things, and we'll keep on getting suggestions from you. We have two very dynamic personalities today, so I won't take much time. But let me tell you, Alumni Association is keeping itself updated, and we are making a lot of changes in the way we are connecting with alumni. We are contributing towards the college, whether it is different projects like gymnasium, student activity center, cafe, a lot of things, different halls contributing towards different things. Recently, 1993 batch contributed towards the dining hall at the institute. So a lot of good things are happening. Alumni Association is very active right now. So thank you all for joining us, and very good morning to Prakash Bhalerao ji and Engineer Praveen Kankariya ji. Over to you, Ashutosh.
Yes, thank you, sir. So I will give a short introduction of Bhalerao sir and Kankariya sir, even though they do not need any formal introduction, but I just thought because they are reconnecting after a long time, so it would be good that I just give a short introduction. So Engineer Shri Prakash Bhalerao sir, he has done his graduation in the year 1970 from electrical branch. So he completed his 50 years last year, but unfortunately due to the pandemic situation, they could not hold the Golden Jubilee celebration. I'm sure when the situation improves, their batch will come to Indore. So he did his engineering from electrical. Then he did his master's in electrical engineering from Worcester Polytechnic Institute, Massachusetts. He began his career in the year 1975 as a CPU designer at Digital Equipment Corporations. After this, he started his first stint as an entrepreneur, and he joined, I would say he co-founded a company called C-Cube Microsystems. He was the member of a founding team there, and that company pioneered in the DVD technology. And as I said, that's how the bug, an entrepreneurial bug, hit him, and then the journey continued. To this date, he has co-founded and served as chairpersons for almost 40 startups, 40 different companies involved in the IT domain. Some of the startups that I would like, not only startups, I mean, now they are big companies in their own right. Some of the companies like C-Cube Microsystems, Amber Networks, Ishoni Networks, Alopa Networks, Ambient Incorporate, Sage Incorporate. The list goes on. There are 40, 50 startups. So I would take another 5-6 minutes to just give the list. Many of his companies reached to an IPO status. They were valued on the NASDAQ. Many of his companies that he had co-founded or where he was an investor, they were taken over by bigger companies like Nokia, Philips, etc. He also is an angel investor, and he has a fund. He has invested. His investments exceed to the tune of $150 million. He is also an active participant in several venture funds, which do a lot of work in a lot of fields related to technology. Many of you must be, those who are from Indore in India, must be aware of Web Dunia. That was I think the predecessor to a lot of e-news that we used to get during those days. And that was the first multilingual website portal in India. So that was his brainchild. He lives in California with his family. So these days, when you listen to the buzzwords like entrepreneur, angel investor, venture capitalist, these days ये buzzwords की तरह हम use करते हैं. So when I was reading sir's biodata, I thought कि सर ऐसा बोलते होंगे जिस स्कूल में तुम पढ़ते हो वहाँ के हेडमास्टर रह चुके हैं, क्योंकि ये इस गेम में 50 साल से है. ये buzzwords तो इंडिया में अभी आए हैं, ये सब जो हम यूज करते हैं, but he has been a headmaster of this for the last 50 years. So we are truly honored to have you, sir. Next, we have engineer Praveen Kankariya, sir, 1987 computer science. He did his master's from Michigan State University. He is an eloquent speaker, as we have heard him.
I have a request. Let's keep the spotlight on Prakash Bhalerao.
Yes, sir. Sure.
I think he's our guest of honor.
Yes, sir.
महज interview लेने आया हूँ.
ठीक है. So I'll just give a short 1-minute introduction. So Praveen Kankariya, sir, he is the founder, CEO, and the founder of several companies like Impetus Technologies, which is a market leader in data engineering, analytics, and services. He is also the founder of Servigistics and Kiosk. Interestingly, one thing that I would say and end, that he is the serving member on the board of Squash Association USA. So I think probably he is the first and the only person of Indian origin to serve on that board. So it's a matter of great pride for us that you are serving on the Squash Association board of USA. So this is a short introduction of Praveen, sir. And now we would start with the function or with the talk. So the format would be that this would be a conversation between Bhalerao sir and Praveen sir. They will have their conversation for around 60 to 70 minutes. And then we will open the session for audience. The audience can type in their questions in the chat box. So right now, all of you are on mute. So if you want to ask anything, you can type your questions in the chat box. We are monitoring it. Over to you, Praveen sir. I can see patron of the Alumni Association and director Saxena sir. Saxena sir, welcome. Good evening. He has been busy over the last 3 years because of an ongoing accreditation program at the college. But thank you, sir, for taking out time and joining us. Over to you, Praveen, sir.
Thank you, Ashutosh. And thanks, Sandeep. And thank you all for organizing this. And, I think inviting the most successful entrepreneur that the college has seen, in my opinion, I may be missing somebody, but I cannot think of anybody who's had a bigger success. And I also I'm honored to be interviewing Prakashji in the presence of Pathak sir and Dr. Saxena, and other faculty members. So really honored. I think any comparison, Ashutosh, that you are attempting, putting me on the same pedestal would be really unfair. I think anything I or Impetus, as Impetus we've done is very minuscule compared to what Prakash Bhalerao ji has achieved. And I mean, you said 40, 50 companies. He's losing count of the number of companies he's been involved in. And
I'm old, that's why.
Sorry? No, you're not old.
I'm old.
It's a large number. I would do the same at half the count. And every time I meet him, I walk away learning so many things. And our meetings are not short. I mean, even if we choose to meet for half an hour, I end up staying with him for hours. We've sat on roadside benches and spoken for hours. And he's full of so many stories. I think if all goes well, if I do a decent job today, then I think we can have him speak for many hours today and share a lot of wise nuggets with us. So, having a very critical hand in, some companies he conceived, some companies he took as very nascent companies and really helped them become strong. And then become valuable enough for some large corporation run by very intelligent people to come along and pay serious amount of money to buy that company. They're not stupid people. They're really intelligent people. This has to be worth something. And anybody who's attempted to build a company, you know how painful it is. I mean, the process is meant to fail and you have to intervene every day. And I'm sure he'll share stories how the line between success and failure every time perhaps was very thin. One little misstep and things could have gone the other way. And repeating this success 40, 50 times. So he's no fluke by any standard. Sabir Bhatia ka to humne ek hi suna hai, Hotmail. He did very well with that idea, and it changed how we use the internet. But for whatever reason, he couldn't repeat that success. And no offense to anybody who's friends with Sabir Bhatia, but Prakash Bhalerao ji, he's repeated this success many, many times over, and he could still do it. He's fully there, ready. I think, and he's onto a few things. I know. So I want to go back, you were working at digital and सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा था. फिर ये you came from a humble Maharashtrian family, so life was good. Everything was set. You were doing good work. You were, digital was known for its work in technology. So ये उठा पटक करने की जरूरत क्या पड़ी?
Good question. But before I answer that question, I really want to thank the GSITS Alumni Association for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. I hope, like I said, I hope I meet the expectations and all the successes that Ashutosh ji had talked about. I contribute in a very simple philosophy. It's a 51% luck and 49% hard work. Don't be mistaken with that. That is exactly that's exactly what it is. So the entrepreneurship, the way I define it, is really a vritti, an attitude. It is not something, it is either in you or you don't have it, one way or the other. And that you don't learn going to the school, and you don't learn, on the job. The surroundings as you grow up really educate you to be one. Entrepreneurship to me is like creating a direction out of a confusion. So all along, as I grew up, and Indore had a lot to contribute to it in terms of the ability to negotiate, ability to sell, ability to convince others of your ideas. Great contribution from me being brought up in Indore because of its multicultural awareness and the mahol. Started at digital, even though I started at digital as CPU designer, inside the company I stayed for almost 16 years, and I started 3 different organizations, which started from nowhere and became hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, they're called entrepreneurship. They're not entrepreneurship. Inside the company, we started the companies. So three times I had done it, and that restlessness and that attitude has always been a part and parcel of my life, Praveen, as you asked. So as the company got bigger and bigger, when I joined, the company had about 1,200 people. When I left, it had 140,000 people. So as you can imagine, things as the companies get big, they become conglomerates, they become big ships, and very difficult to push your ideas and start to create a business out of an idea in a larger company. It's like a molasses you are pushing. I mean, to the point that we used to pick up the diary when I wanted to start something and say, okay, in this group, who did I know? And I would call that person who used to work with me 15 years ago in that company. And I would call them and get the works done. It got very difficult, towards the tail end where the company became big molasses. And I always wanted to move to Silicon Valley. All along, the last venture I did at digital was related to semiconductors. And the semiconductor revolution was taking place in Silicon Valley in early 80s, if you remember. It has not taken off big time, but it had begun. Okay. And that always attracted me to Silicon Valley. And since then, I remained here, and then number of things that you Ashutosh have talked about, they all happened with me, in front of me. What helped me with digital, though, is working in a computing environment. You got familiar in those days because it was all done centrally. You got familiar with how the CPU works, how the memory works, how the memory bank works, how the IOs work, how networking works. So you got exposed to all different aspects of what you call IT today. Each of them have in their own right become a huge aspect of it. Okay. And luckily, at the time when we joined, we worked not only in the CPU hardware, but we worked on the software, we worked on the compilers, we worked on operating systems, we worked on applications. So the exposure in hardware and software was the common denominator for me when I moved to Silicon Valley, which gave me the ability to do what I needed to do and the areas that I have invested and I have done. All my investments are primarily in semiconductors, PCs, networking. I have not gone and invested in healthcare and some other fields of which I have no clue. My investments and my successes are all around my domain expertise, which I learned as I was growing up in a very powerful company of those days, Google of those days, which was Digital Equipment Corporation. Long-winded answer, Praveen, but that's what prepared me.
Awesome. Awesome. So now I'll keep going back in time and coming forward. So one thing I picked up is I think you have played along in 3 major revolutions in information technology. You alluded to the semiconductor revolution, the whole VLSI revolution that was happening in the early 80s. And then came along the PC revolution. And of course, actually, the PC revolution happened because of the semiconductor revolution, the compactness of this PC, the CPU
PC boards on silicon, yes.
Yeah. And of course, then came the networking revolution. And of course, the subsequent internet revolution. So you played in all of these areas. And I mean, that's a very unique experience. And of course, now, as you described your background, your foundational work at digital, at DEC. So that I'm sure contributed to this, but anything you want to say about this? Because this is very unique. By the time I came along, some of these revolutions had happened. So,
Actually, digital gave me two aspects. The first aspect was, as you said, the technology exposure and how the technology is played in terms of putting all these things together, computing environments together. That was one aspect. Second aspect digital gave me was the management. Towards the tail end of my career, I managed thousands of people all over the world. So at digital. So the management experience of how to get things done using the technology was what really contributed in my success. So that aspect I forgot to mention. I think in order for, if you look at the Silicon Valley, and let me back up a little bit so that everybody can get familiar with what is Silicon Valley. See, if you look at maybe about 70 years ago, in 1970s, 60s, 70s, it was nothing but a bunch of orchards. That's all it was. One thing that changed it is President Kennedy made a statement to send man on the moon. And what it did is it brought the technologies together. It brought radio technology, it brought video technology, it brought networking technology. All these aspects got put together. The research was done in the universities of California, in different universities around here. There are aerospace companies all around here. Out came the transistor, out came the SSI, out came the LSI, and so on and so forth. That revolution started in Silicon Valley. Okay, so going forward, Silicon Valley was always a place of attraction for me because of the semiconductor background. The three things you talked about, one thing led to the other. Semiconductors helped you, brought the PC revolution. Number of PCs needed to get connected together. That brought the networking. And then the networking and PCs together brought the internet revolution, which we talked about. Now we're talking about artificial intelligence and so on and so forth, right? But if you look at the fundamental thing, Praveenji, it is all about the computing environments. Everything relates to that. Whatever you're doing, whether it's an application, whether it's related to operating system, whether it's related to fundamental, may not be CPU designs these days, but all aspects of it.
So one is the technology aspect, but and you alluded to that you managed several thousand people. And every time I talk to you, what I pick up is that you have a very keen sense of people around you. And you latch on to what will drive them, what will motivate them, what will work for each person. So you've gone into environments where the founders were fighting. They were not even talking to each other, and you were able to patch them up together, bring them together, and create tremendous value. And I'm sure they all look back and they are so grateful that they let you do what you did.
I think
brought them together and then pointed them, help them reshape their technology to make it way more. I'm sure fights happen when things are not working. In happy times, perhaps people don't fight. So things were not working, and you brought them together and made things work. Asked them to change their product strategy, and you made it work. So ye sense kahan se aaya? Was it only digital or going back in time?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I think what happens is like I said, 51% luck and 49% hard work. The company that I helped as a founding member was a company called C-Cube Microsystems, which really brought the digital video revolution, not just the DVD. Before that, the videos used to be analog videos. You used to get on VHS. VHS was the technology of choice. People watched at home and whatever they did, right? The converting that analog to digital is what the C-Cube contributed. The standards you hear like MPEG or JPEG, you might have heard these names. These standards, the contribution of the standards, big time came from Bell Labs and a huge contribution from digital. The only difference is the company, we decided to open up those standards and give the technology to the open standards and let people build whatever they wanted to build using those standards. For example, JPEG stands for Joint Expert Group. Which is the expert group? There are 4 people in that expert group. One of them was from CQ. Same thing with MPEG. Okay, so what happened is that that fundamental development of digital video spawned into a whole bunch of different applications in the video area, right? That gave, when the company became successful and the company went through IPO, it gave me enough capital to invest into some other ideas where their ideas may not be mine, ideas may be somebody else's, but I would contribute to bring that idea into a business. So what is an angel investor? Angel investor, that is the fundamental of the angel investor. What I look for is 4 things. I look for, in any particular application, any particular proposal that comes to me, I boil down to the 4 things. First is the market confused? Is the opportunity big? Do you have a differentiating product or differentiating idea? And do you have few good men or persons, I should say? Those are the 4 fundamental things. And I can give examples how you can distinguish some of these things. And I had talked about this before, you might have heard it through my speeches. But those are the 4 fundamental things that really matter. Okay, so is the market confused? For example, Praveenji, you and I tomorrow go and get into a car business and let's build a car. And the car goes 0 to 60 miles in 8 seconds and sells for $15,000 and comes in red, white, and blue colors and with the black tires. Market is not confused. Market have 15 different choices. Opportunity is huge, but market is not confused. So if you and I were to start a car company, we have to create a differentiating product. That differentiating product will allow you to create a startup. That's what the angel investor or entrepreneur looks for. So, okay, so how can we create a differentiation? Well, differentiation could be that the cars are selling for $15,000. We come up with a 1 lakh ki nano. You price differentiated it. They screwed up in marketing, but price differentiation was one. Or I say I build a car that is lifetime free for all warranties and everything. Now I created differentiation in terms of offering a service. So if for a particular segment, that would be attractive, right? So any proposal that comes for an entrepreneur, for an angel investor, that they look for these 4 things. Okay, now what happens is, if it passes these 4 things, that means the people that are there, that have the domain expertise and their idea is differentiating. Okay, they have identified a confused market, and the opportunity, if it is put together, could be huge. If all those things look okay, right? Then you ask yourself a question: what, in order for this idea to become a business, what it is lacking? So typically, founders are not necessarily entrepreneurs. People get confused. Founders are the people whose ideas company is founded on. Entrepreneurs are the people who create the direction out of a confusion, who help create a business out of an idea. So my role is, okay, first, you definitely need a capital to productize the idea. So I put the capital. Then I look at the strength of the founding team and say, okay, founding team could be a very technologically savvy, typically, technologically savvy team, and they know the technology inside out. But they may or may not have the expertise to stitch together a complete team to convert that idea into a product. They may not have the right marketing skill. They may not have right customer introduction. They may not have whatever financial, whatever it is, right? So it is with my skill set, I bring the rest of the team together. So the idea can be productized, and you bring to a stage where it is now ready for a larger funding, because the product is proven, product is conceptualized, it's proven, some customer validations have taken place, and now it needs the expansion. That's when the institutional venture capital comes in. You see what I'm saying? So the role I'm playing is an entrepreneur from idea to that stage. That's my major role. So the 30, 40 companies that he talked about that I'm involved with, each and every one of them, that is the area. I was not the founder. I think he used the word co-founder. That's wrong. I was co-founding some companies, not 40, 50. But in those 40, 50 companies, I was the lead angel investor. So what I mean is I didn't only put the money. Some angel investors put only money. They say, okay, I give you the money, I give you $500,000, I give you $1 million, and I sit on the side and I watch you do whatever you do. My involvement is different. My involvement is I'll give you money, whatever it takes. I will give you my expertise and I will bring my web with me to make that idea successful. So what that does is, unlike venture capitalists, I can't keep on investing 10 companies at a time. I have to take 1 or 2 at a time. So I started, I bring it to that stage, and then I take a back seat. We hire a CEO, hire the right management. I take the backstage. And I remain on the board, do whatever it needs to be done. Sometimes I remain till companies go through IPO. Most of the times I resign even before that. Am I making sense?
No, you're making a lot of sense.
Okay. So that is what the journey that I began after CKIP success that gave me the capital, the management expertise and all that came from digital.
So I'm going to ask one question and then I'll go back to Indore. So give me an example of where the market was confused. And the opportunity was, because the market is confused, there is a clear path.
Yeah.
To success.
So typically what happens is any segment, you take any segment, you take networking segment, you take any segment that you think of, right? when you see, instead of me giving you the example, I'll give you the results, and then you can identify. So when the standard came for MPEG may be too long, too old. Let me take another example. It's a networking standard. It would networking standard, right? When the standard came, 10, 15, 20 companies started coming into the business with their own ideas of how that standard can be converted into a chipset. Right? So there was opportunity was huge. But 10 or 12 companies are trying to access that market. They are trying to establish their leadership in that market. So they are like, I create a mound and I become a king of the mound and say, my solution is better. Somebody else says their solution is better. Somebody else says their solution is better. Right? If I'm a customer of that, I don't know who to use. The too many, because when the market goes through, it goes through 5 stages. It goes through an embryonic stage, developing stage, a maturing stage, a sustaining stage, and decaying stage. You take any example. Okay. The markets typically are confused when they are in the embryonic stage. For example, in 1920s, there are 420 car companies in US. 420. 420. No, it's a true story. It's a Harvard business case I'm telling you. Okay, 420 car companies. Okay, Ford came up and said it's a Model T. Ask me any color you want, only you get in black, as long as it's black. Ford created a segmentation and kind of drove the market and became a leader. There may be still 300 car companies in US. They may be making some very specific applications. Could be farming equipment, whatever. I'm saying car, transportation companies, I should say. Car is the wrong thing. Transportation company, right? There could be still 300 of them, but they're making, most of them are making niche products. Only 3 or 4 or 5 companies that take the 90% of the market. Because market has gone through embryonic stage to a developing stage to a maturing stage. So right now the market for the automotive industry is in a maturing stage. Same thing happened with respect to PCs. If you look at the PCs, if you remember, Praveen, probably when you were graduating, there were about 12 PC companies, from Atari to whatever, everybody was introducing their own PCs. Heathkit had it, Atari had it, Digital had it, you name it. I mean, I can go through on and on, right? IBM came in, took the leadership. So there was IBM and Apple. Those were the only two that really dominated in their entire PC solution, right? The rest of them all disappeared. So PC market was in the embryonic stage. It was confused. It had 15 different solutions, and with whatever differentiating things that these two companies did, Apple as well as IBM, they took off. Am I?
No. It's making a lot of sense. So now I'll go back to Indore. Going back to high school. High school में क्या training मिली? जिसका फायदा यहाँ सिलिकॉन वैली में हुआ. You keep saying that you owe it to growing up in Indore.
Yeah. You know, my high school, you have to remember my high school. My high school, I came from Nutan Mahavidyalaya. It was called Nutan Mill.
कोई और है क्या नूतन वाला?
Excuse me?
इस कॉल पे कोई और है क्या नूतन वाला? They can raise your hand.
It was called Nutan Mill, and Nutan had produced some really good people. I mean, Kailash Vijayvargiya came from Nutan. Mahesh Joshi came from Nutan. There are a lot of political leaders in those days of college leadership. Quite a few of them came from Nutan. So the school itself was a big entrepreneurial experience to me. You know, coming from a very humble and very God-fearing middle-class Maharashtrian family, it was an eye-opener. You know, how the school functioned and what happened in the school, and how you dealt with and read the people, and who you stayed away from, who you made the friends with, and who you used when you used. That was a on the job experience that school taught me. Actually, you know, it goes. I give a lot of credit to my upbringing in Indore, from that perspective, really. I can tell you stories about Indore, and I don't take everybody's time, but stories about school. You know, what happened in the school, and what type of people that we dealt with, and where I ended up with, you know, with that experience today.
कुछ उस पे लाइट थ्रो करी जाए, पर उसके पहले राजीव नेमा पूछ रहे हैं कि नूतन स्कूल है कहाँ?
Nutan school is right between Nandanagar and Rambagh. You know, it's there are two schools, Nutan and Maharaj Shivaji Rao. They're against each other, and most of the in those days they divided the areas in terms of who goes to what school, and entire mill area from Indore, from Bhandari Mill, Hukumchand, all these mills, all the kids from the mill area, only school that was available then was in Nutan. So all the school, I had kids in my school in the morning. They were married. In my class, they were married. They would distribute milk in the morning and come to school, attend the school. The people have become, you know, people since then. People, some I know, some still I'm still friends with. Some became the doorkeepers at cinema halls. Some became taxi drivers, and I still meet them. One of them sells garadus in Sarafa. So, you know, you meet. I mean, whether they're political leaders or they are retailers or they are people, educators, you know, like me, what I became indirectly, you know, all aspects were there, you know.
So you told me one story. Exam में आपके आगे जो बैठता था.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I won't name the name of the person, but what happened is I started with BHA, and he also started with BHA. He was, you know, at the time I was 4'10" maybe, and he was already 6 feet. He was a Pelwan. He used to wrestle. He used to wear pajama kurta, and he used to wear these chappals with a naal, you know, cut. He used to come. So in a 6 monthly, this guy comes. Everybody's sitting down. They distribute the answer papers, you know, first, as you know. And this guy is nowhere to be seen. He sat in front of me. He was not at his desk. So he comes at the door after the answer papers were delivered, and can I come in? He walks in, and he comes and sits down, and then he says, "Pani lao." So what has to happen is, in those days, when you sat, you're not allowed to go. The water was served to you right at your. So the boy comes up with a glass of water, this thing with a glass of water, and one pocket he takes out a nibbu. The other pocket he takes out a huge rampuri, and he opens it up, cuts the nibbu, presses the nibbu in the water, drinks it, and puts in the rampuri right on the desk. Okay. The invigilator, who was our math teacher, looked at it. He was like 4 feet 10 inches, 90-pound guy. He looked at it. He put his hand behind, and he walked out the door. Didn't show up for 3 hours till the entire time was over. This was. I'm not. I'm not saying this as with any pride, but I'm just telling you these are the type of experiences that I have witnessed, that you saw.
You learn to swim with the sharks.
You learn, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, exactly. And you know how to deal with them, because you can't take panga with them, but you don't want to be. Usse dosti bhi achhi nahi, dushmani bhi achhi nahi. You start to learn how to deal with this, with the people. It's very important. That's a lesson that subliminally stays with you.
So Manjeet Walia wanted me to ask a question. Many of some of your classmates went on to become big politicians, but with your keen sense of reading human beings and finding a common cause and moving forward rapidly, what if you had gone into politics?
What did you say?
What if you had gone into politics in India? What if you had stayed back in India and become a politician? Manjeet was estimating that chief minister to bani jate and shayad PM ke daवेदार hote.
Well, one became a chief minister, right? Digvijay Singh ji became chief minister.
Was he your classmate?
And, he was in JSTI. He was 2 years senior to me.
Yes.
No, I think I don't underestimate the people who have become big in politics. I mean, some of them have become they have grown up with the wrong CD and all that. But each and every one of them are intelligent. They know how to read the people. They know how to use the people, and they know how to get things done, and who to stay close and who to stay away from. I mean, there is a very. If you look at any successful politician, you will find these qualities.
Yes.
They may have some wrong, they may have some wrong aspects of their career and whatnot. I don't want to go into that. But as an individual, the good politicians are extremely good CEOs. I mean, look at Nitin Gadkari. I mean, for example, he could run a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I mean, you need all those skills that are required. Samadama Dandave, you have to follow everything. And same thing happens in your life too. When you are a CEO, you are doing things sometimes that are ethically on a borderline. You question yourself, but you end up doing
it. Reminds me of Krishna's role in Mahabharata, but no different.
Yeah, it is what it is. And what I do is, what I tell is following, right? What you have to think of, people say, business is war, right? You heard that. People say business is war, business is war. Flip it and say war is business. Now all of a sudden the general becomes the CEO. Shivaji Maharaj became the biggest entrepreneur then, right?
Yeah.
And so is Ram. So is Bhagavan Ram. I mean, think of it. I mean, when his aim was not to go rescue Sita, his aim was to Arya Dharma ka prasad. That was his goal. So you have to have a very clear goal, what you're going after, right? And when Sita was kidnapped, he didn't go to his dad and say, give me 10,000 rath or 12,000 sainik de do, or 10,000 rath de do, I'm going to go attack Ravan. He figured his own resources, he put together his own team, okay, and he conquered and reached to his goal, which is vision of his goal, and he motivated and he inspired the team. with him. We should not look at these mythological stories as only stories. I mean, in our daily life, there are examples. We need to just learn to associate and pull from what has happened.
So being an entrepreneur, there is always situations always very foggy. Now, sitting and talking about in hindsight is much easier. But when you're actually dealing with a situation, you have half-baked information. You never have 100% information to even make a decision on. At best, you have 50%, 60% information, and you still have to keep making decisions, and you have to keep betting the company again and again. So, what have been your experiences? And what brought about this sense of clarity? Because, you keep rattling principles, and these are golden principles that you develop for everything, looking at an opportunity, aapne jo 4 principles bataye, various stages, and what led to this way of being?
So the companies, as you go through the journey, companies typically have 2 or 3 stages. Okay, the first stage is the embryonic stage when you are developing an idea into a product, right? Or idea into a acceptance in the market. And then you talk the next stage, which is idea that product becoming a business. So broadly, you split it into 2. The risks that you have in the early stage are different than the risks that you have at the later stage. Okay, the early stage risk is very, very clear, and the early stage risk is you as a CEO, you as an entrepreneur, have only one thing in mind. You are given an axe and some tools, and you are told that there is gold in that mountain. Okay, and you start digging the veins, and most of the people, where they get confused, is any nugget they see, they say, oh, it is gold, and they start refining that. You can use up all your money to go after that particular idea or that particular event. The key is you keep digging until you find a vein which will really yield a highest return. And while you're doing that, you don't run out of money. So what happens is, I don't know of any company, Praveen, that started with particular idea, and that same idea, exactly the same point that you put together a business plan, has gone through an IPO. Zero. Where people are mistaken. Okay, I'm talking about product companies. I'm not talking about service companies. Yeah. In a product company, you start company with a particular idea, and that idea is just a common denominator. What comes out of it as a business is something related to that idea, but may not be that exact thing that you thought it will work. Because idea is you came up with the concept, you give it to the customers. Customers say, I don't want this, I want this. And say, my God, why do you want this? This is not technologically challenging to me. I think you should use this. It doesn't work that way. When you test it on people, and what you have to continually mold it and change it. Of 30, 40 companies I've been involved with, whatever number of companies, I can't point you a single company. I'll give an example. Ambit Design Systems started as a test synthesis, and it became a synthesis entity. I can give an example after example. Not a single company I can tell you that said, this was the goal, that's what I started with, and that's what I ended up exactly the same. Never works. So what happens is, in an early stage, you have to keep spinning the solution, keep creating a differentiation until the differentiation sticks. Now, if you go on the wrong path and you keep on spending money on that particular differentiation, you run out of money, you're done, you're over. So in the early stage, it is very crucial. If you're going to fail, you fail quickly. So that you can try, you can reiterate around that particular thing, right? until such point that you get the product, you get the endorsement for 2 or 3 customers, and people now start coming to you second time. So I sold you a product and you came to me again for more. That means I'm solving your problem. So the failure there is money. That you run out of money, you're done. So I have only, even though I gave you 4 principles, my entire focus is how much money is in your bank while you're doing this, how much money left in your bank, and what's your burn rate. What are you burning?
Enough runway rahega ki nahi?
You start making money, Praveen. You are in profitable state. Profit gives you freedom. It can hide lots of mistakes under the rug. But it's very crucial in that early stage to keep that money aspect very clearly focused. Now, what happens is, now from there, when you go to a larger entity where you are now distributing, you are now thinking of distributing products in Europe and Japan and wherever, the type of skill set and the money that is required and the people who run and can focus is different than what this entrepreneurial journey of the company would be. It's more of an operational game, more of a contact, operational, networking, different kind of a game that you're playing at that time. And most of the time, the CEOs that start becoming the startup don't necessarily scale to that point. And if they are CEOs, they're making so much profit that they may be learning on the job, but their mistakes are getting shoved under the rug. They can still remain CEOs. Some entrepreneurs have done that, right? They started from the beginning and they remain wherever. But the company was making so much money that it didn't matter. Their mistakes were forgiven because of the money that was coming into the company.
So you think something got missed in such situations?
Say it again.
Something got missed. The early excessive profitability hit some opportunity. The bigger opportunity got sacrificed in these situations.
No, I didn't get your question.
जो जहाँ थोड़ी early success मिल जाती है किसी काम में, that hides reality from us. There is risk of that. Right?
It could definitely, but if the opportunity is huge, it doesn't matter. You just stick in that and just keep growing. It doesn't matter. Okay. Because if the market is expanding, you're highly profitable things. I mean, take a look at Netflix. I'll give you an example of Netflix. Netflix is a classical example. The way Red ran the company. I mean, he ran single-handedly. Decisions he made. Sometimes people would have said, okay, you should not have made those decisions, but he did. And the company was profitable. The board just was sitting there stamping whatever you are saying. But company there was a proposal to take the Netflix through the online distribution, just like what they're doing now. He poo-pooed the idea in the beginning. He said, no, DVD distribution is what is going to be the market. He came into it late. Luckily, he picked up because he has a lot of money. He picked up.
Yes. He came in very late. Yeah.
He came in very late. A lot
of our friends may not know, Netflix actually started as a DVD rental company. You went to the website, ordered a movie, and they would actually mail the DVD to you. Now, of course, in India, everybody knows Netflix as an online streaming company. Because
India only knows Netflix as an online streaming. India doesn't know Netflix as a DVD rental company. But the example I gave you, right? But even though DVD rental, they were making so much money, it really didn't matter. That they came late in the market, but they had enough muscle to kind of swing into the online distribution.
Yes.
So it happened. There are lots of examples like that. And one thing that you need to remember, as many as successes that we are talking about, you need to also acknowledge that I also have failures. I mean, it's not all you are getting is success.
मैं आपसे question पूछने वाला था कि failures क्या है? Because we keep everybody knows that failures teach us probably more than success.
Yeah, failures.
Like you said, success hides our failures. Success tends to.
Yeah.
सारे पाप धुल जाते हैं success में.
100%. So in one company there are two founders, and both were good complementary to each other. And sometimes what happens is some early success gets into the head, into their heads, and they think they are larger than God, and they start fighting. So founders differences for whatever reason. The reason could be ego, reason could be who got what percentage of the company, whatever it may be. So one couple of times that's what had happened in the early. I learned that, but that learning. So when I do my own due diligence or whatever I do, that's one of the things I test as to how well the chemistry is, because in the early stage it's very crucial that the entire team plays together. A startup is not a place where you come to learn. Startup is a place where you come to give. You have learned someplace else. So if you are a founder and you say, okay, I want to become a CEO, this is not a place for you to learn to become a CEO. It's not. But if you get this into your head that, since it's your idea and you did this and you did that or whatever it is, and you want to run the company, more than often you will fail. For example, right? Sometimes the market, so I have gone through that. Sometimes the market disappears. I'll give you an example of a company. One of the networking companies was in a VoIP business, and they had developed a very unique VoIP gateway. And at the time, companies valued at over $1 billion. We have raised over $60-70 million for the company. And the top 8 out of the 10 corporates in the world, including Siemens and Panasonic and whatnot, were customers and had given us the purchase order. We had purchase orders of $25 million in hand. Product was under development. It was almost ready to go. And Black Tuesday happened in 2001, if you remember. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the market went topsy-turvy. Yeah. And out of this top 8, 3 of them pulled back the product. 2 of them, kind of took a rain check. And all of a sudden, we are like 230, 240 people in the company, burning money like crazy. We had a lot of inventory. And all of a sudden, we are sitting on this thing, what to do? Now, when the company is at that stage, it is almost impossible to take it, retrieve it, and redirect it into some other business. Very, very difficult. Very difficult.
What happened in that situation?
We managed to do it. All we got back is investors got their money back. We sold the company. Investor got their money back. That's, skin of the teeth. So, it is there is a lesson that, I'll share with you. And, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Japanese history. So from year 1200 to year 1600, the Japan was in unrest. And there was a guy by the name of Oda Nobunaga, who tried to stitch the country together with the different fiefdoms that they're fighting. And he had a general called him Hideyoshi. The Oda Nobunaga general was Hideyoshi. Yes. And Hideyoshi was very, very impatient and very aggressive. And, he did a lot of early fights, to kind of stitch the things together, right? So what happened was when in one place Hideyoshi aggressively attacked and lost. And he came back. So Oda Nobunaga told him that it is very easy to go and attack, but it is 10 times more difficult to attack, lose, regroup, and re-attack, and win. It's the exact same thing happened in this business. The exact same thing happened with me. We didn't win. Investors got their money back. That was not what we wanted to return back to the employees. The employees have put in 4 or 5 years of hard work. Yeah, they got their salary. They didn't get anything. They just had job because the company that bought them kept them on payroll. But that's not why you went there for. So there are founders fights. There are the people who don't pay attention to the money that they have run out. Sometimes founders become very latched on to a particular idea and they don't want to give up. And they just keep on, even though and sometimes, if I'm in some places where I have invested and I have taken a very active working role in the company. There was a company that developed this camera, that you see phone cameras these days. That phone camera was developed by a company called Plexus here first. Okay, and the entrepreneur was very, very adamant about where he wanted to take this company. And he just would not listen. And there is good amount of money, and company ran in the ground. We lost the money.
What is that fine line? But what is that fine line? We also hear of stories where an entrepreneur had strong conviction. We hear about, of course, the famous entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley, Jobs, and of course, Elon Musk. And so they all had strong conviction and they stood their ground, and that led to something. But then we see countless other examples where entrepreneurs, they stand their ground and they stick to an idea.
Praveen, what you will see is more than often. There is no hard and fast rule in this game.
Yes.
More than often, you will see people who take strong convictions and who latch on to the so-called tree hugging, and they're not listening to the customers and they're doing the tree hugging and completely ignoring the customers' feedbacks and so on. Yes. So they're believing in their own convictions. Have gotten into trouble more than often.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
You can look at the exceptions and say, okay, look what he did and or he, she already did. Netflix is an example I gave you, right? So, but if they go through that and for whatever the tree they have hugged, that keeps on returning the money. See, the whole bottom line is, are you making money?
So are you hugging the right tree?
Are you hugging the right tree? Exactly. That's what, and that you'll only know is like Monday's quarterbacking for Sunday's game. You'll know, you'll not know while you're in it. Only after it happened.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, I told you so. That's what happened. And I can tell you stories like that. I can say, oh, I told you so. It doesn't work that. It doesn't work that way.
So, what has helped you keep your ego in check? Because I find you very approachable, down to earth. You were uncomfortable even about doing this interview because you didn't want the limelight on yourself.
Yeah, but it's all who you are. I see. There are different categories of people. Some people are very egotistical and some people are not. Some people, money doesn't matter. What happens is, in most cases, what I have seen people who have reached to the stage that I have reached, what happens is you make your first $20 million. Okay, and then you buy your Ferrari and you buy a house on the hill and you take, all these vacations and buy planes, whatever like you do, right? Then you ask yourself a question: if I had $20 more million to my net worth, am I going to now eat gold, or what am I going to do? So there are a group of people who are following that philosophy. There are some people, there is never enough. So I made 20 now. How do I do 40? How do I do 80? How do I do 90? Where do I go? Right? There are different people. People comes in all shades and all colors. It all depends. That's who I am. I always was approachable even before, and I am still approachable now. And I know some people who also fall into the same category as I am. And I also know people who have gotten the money in their head. They are only one success and they're one-trick ponies. A company went public or whatever. They made a bunch of money and they treat everybody like that. It's all individuals, Praveen. What your upbringing is and what your parents have taught you and what the values are. That's all it really matters.
So that old saying, behind every successful man, there's. So, what's your story?
There is absolutely. I mean, I think we the credit. You see me, but the credit is really family. I shouldn't just say wife. The entire family goes through very rough, tough period. What people don't realize, those of you who want to become entrepreneurs, you should know this, okay? Because there was I never attended, and I'm not saying it with pride. I never able to attend during my peak days any of the school meetings, any of the school dramas, nothing my kids did that I attended. On Saturday evening, I would take Sunday morning, Saturday evening, I would take a flight, go to Europe or go to Far East, spend 1 week, come back. After coming back, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I go back to work, come home at 8:30, 9 at night, again back on the plane. I did that for almost 15 years, 20 years maybe. I never, and because what happened is, in one company, if you're running one company, for example, right, the companies go through ups and downs. So you have some breathing period. When you become an angel investor and you're investing in multiple companies, and companies are going through different stages, you're always at peak. Some companies always having some problem somewhere. So and then the globalization didn't help. So you're getting calls from India at night, and you're getting calls from Europe early in the morning, and you're screwed. And then during the day, you're doing whatever you're doing. So the stress in all this, the family bears a huge stress in that. Huge stress. So for 20-25 years of my life, in last 5, 6 years, 8 years, I have slowed down. I'm not doing any crazy investments where I'm personally getting involved with the operating roles. Last 5 years, but till then, it was a very difficult time for the family. So I never saw my kids grow up. I didn't, I don't remember taking vacations.
And I know you're making up fast with the grandchildren now.
Now I'm making, yes.
Probably your number one priority right now.
Now it's a different story. I'm just dedicating my time and effort, to particularly with this pandemic. I think things have become,
Coming to Indore, you made one investment in Indore.
Yeah.
But what made you stop after that? And I want a very candid answer. Let's say you had no attachment to Indore.
Right.
Did you not get approached by entrepreneurs from Indore area?
No, I did. Right? I think I'll tell you the problem. The mind share of, I'm not talking about today, but mind share when I was active in the investment. The mind share of the Indian IT industry was of a service mentality. So you define my work in a particular boundary, give me the spec, and I will do whatever I need. Either I test it or I produce it. But I don't come up with a product of my own. They call themselves product companies. First of all, let me back up. I didn't look at any service companies because I had no experience in terms of running a service company. Mm-hmm. I saw growth of Mr. FC Kohli, who, when he started TCS, one of the very first companies he approached was digital equipment in early 80s. And I had given the contract to TCS. Mm-hmm. So I've seen the growth of TCS. I know Asim Premji personally when he started Wipro, and he had spent a lot of time in the beginning with me, looking at what are the different possibilities and whatnot. So I can tell you, I'm familiar with whether it was Narayan Murthy, all these stalwart names you hear, in those days, in 80s and 90s, they were novices in developing in this area.
Yes.
Okay. And I have seen those companies grow. But I personally never invested in the service company. I never dealt with service company because my experience from digital and what I learned was in the product development. So when I looked at the proposals that came from India, and they were the architect of something in some MNC, and when you interviewed them, which product have you taken from the concept to productization? I couldn't find any. They call themselves architect. They work for MNCs, say they may be working for Intel, they may be working for wherever, but they were only looking at a very small piece of the solution.
Yes.
The conceptualization of the product, which customers you approach and what you do, it was all done in US.
Yes.
So when I looked at the proposals in those days, in 90s and 2000 and all the way up to 2010, I did not find the mindset of the people as a product-oriented mindset. I found more like a service-oriented mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the companies that I talked about, Ashutosh talked about, quite a few of them had subsidiaries in India, which did the work for the development of product. But what we did is, in case of Amber, for example, we got 12 people from India and we made them come to US for 9 months and sit with the developers here. And then those people went back. So the people here and the people there, they had developed a level of understanding with each other. So we did develop the products in India, but our goal was to, every time something like that happened, we brought people from India here and hosted them with the developers. Mm-hmm. They're part of the team, but they have to think through what was required here.
I think that's very true.
I was not involved.
In my own experience at Impetus, we've struggled with this. The mindset, bata do kya karna hai, because that's how a lot of people have grown up in the larger IT services companies, TCS and Infosys and others.
And they're all we call it IT, but it's not IT. It's really a white collar. In general, I'm talking about. It's a white collar body shopping. It is not IT product companies. These are IT services. They're servicing either because they are providing a very detailed testing environments or some part of application development or whatever, but not the complete womb-to-tomb product. I mean, even today, take a look at it. The successful companies that we are talking about in India, that are IT companies, are really the images of the companies here. So there is a Ola, but it's a copy of the Uber, whether you like it or not, right? Or there is a Paperfire, there is a Mindtra, there is this travel company. They're all, what is successful here.
Copy and adapt to India.
Yeah, I adopted, indigenously adopted and did very well. Flipkart, for example, right?
Yeah.
It adopted, into India. And, I was an early investor in fund in India, Chrysalis and also Erasmus. Erasmus then became the Axel India. Okay, the Axel India Fund, right? And the Erasmus, in the beginning, when they looked at the companies, my suggestion was look at the success. If you want to invest, look at the companies that have established the business models in US. Business model. And now you take that business model and adopt indigenously in India. If those companies approach you, fund them. Which is what they did, by the way. Flipkart was funded by Erasmus for Axel India. And Mindtra and a bunch of other ones, right? But if you look at their success, they're all initial successes were the business models that were established in India, in US, and in a big way, right? And then you are taking that and adopting it to the Indian environment.
Yes.
So there is a Airbnb here, and it's adapted to India's Airbnb equivalent, for example. Or if any of you entrepreneurs have anything that you want to do, this is what you should think of. You want to start something in India and make it big, look at some application in US that has become big. That is well accepted, and just indigenize it into India. I think your success in terms of your success will be much, much higher.
Very true.
The rate of success will be much, much higher.
So I'll take it in a slightly different direction. I recently discovered that you were a wrestler in high school.
Yes, I was.
मतलब you learned अखाड़े में जाते थे, कुश्ती लड़ते थे.
Akhada, pure akhada. So I went to Ganesh Mandal, which is right across from Nutan. There was a akhada in Ganesh Mandal, and that was my akhada. That's where I went from seventh grade to almost third year of my college.
So were you the strongest guy in the class?
No, I was not the strongest guy in the class. I grew up. I really filled up, I should say, in my second year of college. Before that, I was, pre-puberty, But I was strong, but not, I wouldn't say, that was not something I did it for a. It's just a fun. It was just fun.
उसको लेके दादागिरी नहीं करी आपने कहीं?
No. But I'll tell you one thing though. I did not get ragged. The people I associated with, because of my Newton background and whatnot, some of those people already had become leaders in Indore University for different political things. So people were kind of careful. So I did not get ragged. That much I can tell you. Unlike what happened, I was not a hostler either. I did have a panga with a guy by the name of Ujagar Singh. Some of you may remember him. He was a hockey player, and he was like the dada of one of the hostels. But it ended up friendly. The skirmish ended up friendly. So
you turned him into a friend. That's what you said.
Yes. We became friends.
So I think this trait helped you later, right? Some of the stories like about Arcus you were telling me, where the two founders were at loggerheads and you brought them together.
See, this is what happened. I mean, when I talk about how do you evaluate a plan? I mean, there are various things that have come my way, right, in this company, right? One company, I was telling you the story the other day. It was about in those days there was a difficult thing to create a distribution of wealth, so to speak, right? So this two founders founded a company in India with the idea of bringing a semiconductor technology into India, which, by the way, before I forget, I should make a point to Ashutosh. I think you talked about the requirements of next generation and what's going to happen, okay, in India, because all these other things have gone, and you're talking about artificial intelligence and all these other technologies. I think the most fundamental thing that the next war is not going to be on any of that; it is going to be on semiconductors. To run any of those applications, any of those hardware, any of the cell phones or networking equipment or servers or any application that you run, the fundamental component on that is semiconductor. And that semiconductor component is controlled today by China.
Yeah.
By China. Okay? And the next business war is going to be who controls that semiconductor. Because if tomorrow, if China decides to block that, okay, everything will come on its knees in no time. It's just like, supplying oil. You block the oil supply and you're done. But right now you can buy oil from different countries. Not so with respect to the microelectronics. Microelectronics, we are at the mercy. India is at the mercy. Not India, even America. All the US used to be a largest semiconductor producer at one time. I mean, companies like AMD and Intel and monolithic memories, they all had their manufacturing plants here. There's only 1 or 2 manufacturing plants left here. Everything else is in Taiwan or China or some part in Korea.
Even as we speak today, I think China has created a kind of artificial shortage. So there is a lot of semiconductor shortage in India these days. That is what
really?
that is what we listen to in the news and on papers and etc. So already there is a kind of a shortage that is going on in the semiconductor industry. We are not getting components in India.
And the technology is not simple. The problem is, in order to produce that level of quality and that level of miniaturization with the densities and whatnot we talk about with 5 nanometers and whatnot, all the fundamentals that are required in terms of the oils and gases and equipment and so on and so forth, they're just not available. They are all controlled by these guys.
Yeah.
You cannot come into this just because government gives you $30 billion. You cannot put a semiconductor plant. The expertise is not there. The infrastructure is not there. The gas, oil, the raw ingredients are not there, and manufacturing know-how is not there. So about when Modi ji came to power in 2014, we had written a white paper. 3 or 4 of us had written a white paper about the microelectronics dependency of India in the future application. Because everybody is talking about digital India. Guess what? To do digital India, you need microelectronics. Without that, you are dead. So it's a serious issue. I don't know what the solution is, but that's what it is today.
So we have we have an alum. I'm not sure whether he's on this call or not. Shri Devendra Sharma ji. He's actually on the National Security Advisory Board. So I will alert him about and perhaps get that white paper in his hands and connect you both. And one of the deputy national security advisors of India went to Christian College in Indore. So yeah, General Vinod Kandere. I'll connect you, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure the people in government, are now very much aware. I'm positive they're very much aware because we are also doing some big, huge things in the defense industry, and that requires a lot of different kind of electronics. Absolutely. But I think more and more digital India that you promote, more and more these things you're going to run into. I mean, and unfortunately, they are single sourced. That's the problem. Problem is they're single. If they're multiple source, meaning you can buy it from different places, at least you have dependency. You're not dependent on one entity. Yes. Semiconductors, what 10, 15 years down the road is going to be a serious issue. And that also points. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. I was going to switch gears to something, but please complete your thought.
Go ahead. That's okay. That's fine. Switch the gear.
So one thing I've heard about you from various people is that you really take care of the people who have worked with you. And I know personally that you sometimes, on many occasions, you've done it at your personal expense. You took a lesser payout. You didn't even take what you deserved, but you let others step up and win so as to keep the flock together, keep everybody happy and contented.
Yeah, see, these are all, what happens is, depends on, you need to look at the team that you have together with you, right? And most of the time what happens is, people look at who do I fund next? What do I do next? And what I have seen is I fund a company, okay? And there are maybe 4 or 5 people who really deserve. But the top 2 are the ones whose ideas funded on, but the other 3 or 4 or 5 who are equally good, but they joined later or whatever the reason they are not there, and they have some ideas that someday they want to start their own entity, right? So to me, creating this network, and it's my nature to begin with, okay, to creating this network is I don't do it with a particular aim in mind that now someday they will come with a proposal and I will fund them. It's just my nature to kind of help the people. So people who grew up with me in the last entity at Digital Equipment Corporation, there are about 7 or 8 of them who were my close team. Every one of them migrated to California. I brought them one way or the other. They came. I brought them here, and every one of them, I have done a co-founding company with, and every one of them have done, it became independently wealthy. Let me put it this way. So it is, you need to look at when you're doing this thing, you have to look at the individual. You have to look at the people, the team. That's very, very crucial. आज तुम्हारे साथ काम किया, तुम्हारा काम हो गया, तुमको डाल दे दूसरे के साथ चले गए. It doesn't work. The people who, when I get the proposals, I'm not getting proposals from some unknown people. I get so many proposals from the people that I have worked with in the past that I don't have to go look for, some new ventures, in terms of where do I put the money. But I'm telling you, Praveen, the crux of this is 2 things. One is don't run out of money in a startup, and second is make sure that you maintain a good relationship, because even if I took some small stake or I gave some percentage away or did whatever I did, right? It really maintained the relationship, and the other people see it. Other people know about it. They see it. They see it's a fair. A person was treated in a very fair way, in a very fair manner. I think that values the most in people's mind. It's very, very important. Typically in Indian mentality, typically is, I'm sorry to say this, but typically is that I will keep 99% to myself and 1% I will distribute to 10 people. That's how Indian entrepreneurs think. It doesn't. I don't think that's how we're going to generate if you're successful, fine, you'll enjoy your money and enjoy whatever you do, right? But if your idea is to kind of, distribute your wealth and kind of get a larger network together, it's not conducive.
Yes.
Part of the reason that you don't see that many companies in India is because of that. The companies keep their thing only in the family.
Yes.
There's no independent wealth, creation.
So I'll go to another part of your life. Your life is not just about being an entrepreneur. Of course, you talked of family also, but you had this affiliation to, one is classical music, and this is not like recent. This is not that you made it. So this is a newly acquired pastime. This is something. This affiliation goes back to even before you moved to Silicon Valley, 30, 40 years ago. Right?
Even before it goes back to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, coming from the family I come from, where my parents and all friends and whatnot, they all were music lovers, and they are music lovers, right? And I grew up with that. And
you're telling me about that famous festival, the classical music festival that
yes, I was telling you about. Yeah, there was a group called Abhinav Kala Samaj who used to hold. I'm sure they still do. I'm dating back to 60s now. They used to hold this classical music festival in Gandhi Hall, outside Gandhi Hall. Okay, and one time I remember Bismillah Khan Sahab had come. And at the time, coming from a background that I came from, and with a modest, whatever, we couldn't afford the tickets, obviously, and we were in the 7th or 8th or 9th grade, would stand outside, all the way outside the pandal, where Bismillah Khan Sahab looked like a little tiny figure on the stage. But it was, these people were, you heard their names. You hardly got to come too close to any of them. You enjoyed their music, but you never got to know them. what happened is when we moved to US, a lot of these stalwart artists started coming to US. And in Boston, given the good Lord was smiling, Dick was very kind to me. We built a home and we had a beautiful hall in the there. And we would host some of the stalwarts who perform in the public place, but they also would come and perform at home. And this went on and for almost 15, 20 years. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we held concerts at our house. As I became independently wealthy, I figured that this music is very difficult for general public to come to. The reason is, if you look at the cost of the hall, if you take a look at their remuneration for doing the programs, musicians and sound system or whatnot, you would put a ticket of $25 per person to in order to even break even. But $25 right now, it's not a problem for Indian population because they have gotten very rich. But think about in 90s, it was a lot of money. If you talk about 2 people or 3 people to come from family, you're talking about $75, $100. It was a lot of money for people to spend at that time. So we started holding the concerts. So I started writing off these concerts to the stalwarts. And what I realized is, all these stalwarts are great, but they were just coming and performing and taking the money. What I realized is there are people who are upcoming musicians, upcoming classical musicians, upcoming folk artists, who really deserve the audience, who really they would perform. And they were just looking for a place where they wanted to get to be known. So then we started sponsoring them, even sponsoring them from India paying for their tickets, hosting them here, allowing them to tour the US. And I have written off their expenses. Just to kind of help wherever I could help in terms of getting the musicians a stage where they become known entities. And we have done that. A number of musicians now you hear, now they are well known, who grew up in 90s and in that period when they were upcoming musicians, have benefited from that. And we are still continuing that tradition. I have a little theater in the house downstairs, and we still do that. And for the last 15, 20 months, we have not done anything. But that tradition is still continuing, and the hall is available to anybody that wants to come and perform. Nowadays, I'm getting too old to run around. So there are organizations around here, 3, 4 organizations who wish to hold small concerts. They come and they arrange everything, and the music system is set up and they listen to that goes on.
Nice. Achha, now you suddenly developed this hobby of writing in Indori Hindi. and are you giving Rajiv Nima a run for his money?
I share with Rajiv Nima quite a few of them. I'm sure you're getting this data from Rajiv.
No. This is from your professor.
Oh, from a professor. Okay. Oh, yes.
He taught you.
Yes.
She's actually on this call as well.
Yes, I am. So, no, I always wrote, Praveen, I always wrote when I was in school. Writing was my hobby. I always wrote, I always sketched. I did sketching, I did writing. And then in engineering, you kind of, it disappears. And then I got so busy with my career, I never paid any attention to anything, just other than this. Even these music concerts that I was talking about were not, and even though I'm taking the credit, it is really arranged by my parents and my wife. My parents, I don't know if you know this, but my parents stayed with me for almost 14 years in this country. My dad came when my firstborn, we had a firstborn, my dad, mom and dad, and they mostly spent time here till they became teenagers and they went back, which is very unusual. So what would happen is, because they were themselves interested into music, they would take upon responsibility to do all the arrangements and everything that kept them busy, that kept them motivated, that kept them engaged with the community. Otherwise, what happens is, I'm giving you going a little bit off the subject, but most those who are living in US will realize that if their parents come to visit them, they get bored in 1 month, 2 months at the most, and they say, "We're going to go back to India because all my friends are there." Quite a few of them, I mean, those who are on the call from US will realize that, or those who have moved out of Indore and gone someplace in Bangalore or wherever, and their parents come to visit them, they would realize, I'm sure, that the parents come, stay one or 2 months, and then they get bored. So this was one of the activities that my parents started. Along with that, they started Bhajan Mandali and all that. So they kept themselves, their own circle, their own group. That is what was very, very critical in this development. In my journey, life journey, there's a huge contribution from them. It helped my kids, to get grounded. They both speak Hindi and Marathi fluently because of this, because my parents stayed with me.
Amazing. Now, what is this fascination
for writing Hindi?
Sorry.
So I do.
Indori Hindi ka kya hai? Ye suddenly why?
Indori, because I learned Indori Hindi, so that's why I write it.
All right.
So no fascination particularly, but I like the way it sounds. It is I think, as compared to a literary Hindi, I think the Indori Hindi to me has a lot of warmth in it, in the way the words are put together, the way the words are expressed, the way one could express the emotions. I relate to that. So what I'm doing is, these days, since I have a lot of time on my hand, anytime I see a particular event or particular thing that goes on, remind me of my young age, remind me whatever, and I kind of pen down those thoughts.
And how will everybody else get to see your thoughts? Are you putting them on a blog site or something?
No, I'm not putting. I'm just sharing with some friends. I know there's no. I have not put it in blogs, but
Ashutosh, you should chase him. Maybe they can go on the alumni site or something.
Yes, sir. Yes. Maybe we can hold a program just for your Hindi.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, recital of his writing.
Recital of his writing. Yeah.
Yes. Now
they're all about
sketches. He sketches beautifully.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So all those things come back to you. What happens is some of you will realize, I think those who are my classmates who are listening or who are at the same age group would realize that at some point in time, there comes a time in your life you start taking time off and thinking about yourself, not what you want to do, but how many days are left for you going forward. So you're in a different mindset, and you start, your mind works differently. So I'm in that state right now. I'm switching to that state now as we speak.
I think perhaps that'll be another very interesting topic for you to share on another talk. Now, lastly, I want to come to this fascination with Kabir. I've heard from your friends that you're a big fan of Kabir's writings. You've studied his writings in various dialects and around the country.
Yeah, it's
Malvi, Rajasthani.
See, Kabir to me is like Lord Ganesha. Since we are celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi, Lord Ganesha, in the sense that if you were to praise Shiva, all the Vaishnavas will say, oh, Shiva is not our god. Or if you praise Vaishnava, Shiva would say, will not be that. Or those who praise Devi will say Shiva and Vaishnava is not our god. But Ganesh is the only god that, whether it's a Hindu, whether it's a Jain, whether it's any religion, any Indian religion would use Ganesh as the fundamental deity That he exists in all religions, in all Indian religions, right? Kabir to me is exactly takes the same position when it comes to the teachings. Kabir himself came from Awadh, as you know, and he probably wrote in Awadh. But there are bhajans of Kabir you will hear in Malvi. Prahlad Singh Tipania sings in bhajans in Malvi. Bhajans in Awadhi. There are bhajans in Bhojpuri. There are bhajans in Urdu. In Pakistani Mirasi log gaate hain. Rajasthani Kabir. Rajasthan mein Kabir hai. So Kabir did not write in those languages, but Kabir's philosophy is over encompassing the human aspect, and and it is very direct, and it kind of hits you with a 2x4 in your head. So you read about it and you can say, oh my God, this is what he was saying. And you can relate to, like I was giving the association of Ram as an entrepreneur, or Shiva as an entrepreneur. You can look at Kabir and look at Kabir's teachings and not look at only teachings themselves, but those teachings, you can associate them in your everyday life. That's what Kabir to me is. And as I was telling you, when we were growing up, I don't know about how many of you have learned Hindi medium, but we used to have Kabir for 10 marks. 100 marks of Hindi paper, the Kabir was 10 marks. I know some of you remember that, right? And कुछ 2-3 दोहे आते थे उनके बड़ा हुआ तो क्या हुआ ऐसे पेड़ खजूर, and you write the meaning of it and you score 10 marks. The 10 marks are guaranteed. हम कबीर के पीछे भागते थे. Okay, now you come to my age, and now I see Kabir is running behind me with a 2x4, teaching me every walk of my life what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong. So I mean, everybody internalizes these things in their own ways. My internalization is like what I just told you.
So, would you like to recite your favorite doha?
I think doha, everybody, there are lots of dohas.
Aapka favorite one, sir? Which is
the one that you and I talked about.
आप recite करिए.
नहीं आप बोलिए ना.
अरे मैं क्या आप बोलिए.
माटी कहे कुमार से.
हाँ. अब आपके बात
everyone knows doha. So doha really talks about Kumar is kind of kicking and screaming and stomping on the matti, and that's what Kumar does. Okay, so you better आज जो भी करना है कर ले तू मेरे साथ में, लेकिन एक दिन ऐसा आएगा कि you will be under me and I will jump on you and I तो उसको मैं रोन दूंगी. So it is a lesson, that particular lesson that you can apply to your life. And I was talking to Praveen yesterday how that applies to our everyday life. So I mean, you take any Kabir's dua, you can draw your own life conclusions of that. So
yeah, they're profound. I have so much masala, I can go on talking to you for another couple of hours, but I'm mindful of the time that was scheduled. This is very interesting.
No, so my advice, we can talk about the other aspect, but I would really encourage everyone, really, those who really want to start their own entities, there is no right time or wrong time. It's not like, starting a company, there is no right time or wrong time. Every time is the right time as far as I'm concerned. Whether you are just a graduate of the school or whether you are finished your career and you have some, you want to go through a second inning, doesn't matter. It is a attitude, it is a risk that you take, and I think the satisfaction you will get by seeing something into realization of what you have done, that satisfaction you will not get with anything else. I mean, that satisfaction you will get only after you have done it and you have successfully executed it. It's not difficult. There are lots of hurdles. People will tell you 10,000 reasons why not to do it. I'll tell you 10,000 reasons why you should do it. I would encourage everyone in any way I can help any of you in any way. If you have some ideas, if you have some plan, you want to talk about what you should do next, I'd be glad to help whatever I can in my best capacity.
And you have a personal website? Is it bhalerao.com or?
Yeah, it's not my personal website. I didn't create a website, Praveen, but yeah, that's my domain that I have booked. So that domain is with me. My email is my first name Prakash at my last name.com, prakashbhalerao.com. I didn't create a website, but yeah, that's what I use. So.
Yeah. Awesome. No, this is a delight, pleasure, and a huge honor to talk to you. And I'm walking away with learning so much from interacting with you today. And I hope the same for the entire audience. So over to you, Ashutosh and Sandeep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. To Kabir.
Ashutosh, before we go to Dr. Saxena for his concluding remarks, and thanks to Dr. Girish Gupta, I see quite a few alumni joining from California. Engineer Rajiv Nima, Engineer Manjeet Walia, Engineer Ajay Kumar Pandit, and above all, Engineer Saroj Pathak, seeing her after a long time. And to tell you all, she did Herculean work during the COVID pandemic. So can you unmute her if you'd like to hear from her for a couple of minutes?
Actually, she taught Prakash Bhalerao ji, so we can
she's my professor.
So we can request her to pull his leg.
Great. Great.
Oh God. I'm going to get ragged now.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. I should join more often. But Prakash, I've known Prakash for what? Over 40 years? That gives our age.
Yes.
So I taught him, and I have to say that he was a good student, and we're still very good friends. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's so many Prakash stories, but I think I'll save them.
You should not save them. You have to share one of the stories.
It's just amazing how humble he is. No, okay, I'll leave it. I'll leave him alone. But it's just amazing to see how humble he is and how Indori. There's a saying that you can get out of Indore, but you can never get Indore out of you.
Right on.
He is definitely one of them. Every so often he sends me some really esoteric thing that he remembered, and he will dare me to say if I remember. Like one day he said something about Gulli Danda. And he dared me if I knew what that is. And of course, I know what Gulli Danda is. But then he got me because he asked me, okay, tell me how the gulli is made. What would you use for gulli? And I had no idea. So you win.
Rajiv, can you share with us some of the Indori things which Prakash ji shared with you? Ashutosh, please. Yeah.
हाँ, मैं वो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप का मेंबर बन गया हूँ जो एलुमनाई एसोसिएशन, तो वहाँ पे फॉरवर्ड कर दूंगा सब. Right? This is all between friends. So there must be a reason why Prakash has not completely gone public with all his writing, but I assume ये इस वाले ग्रुप में चलेगा.
Yeah. Okay, over to you, Ashutosh.
Yes, when Prakash sir was mentioning about Kabir, I remembered a line from Kabir which I heard. So Kabir says, "Ye tan ek din khak milega, kahe firat magaruri mein." So I think that is the line that Prakash sir has taken, and he has taken the line to his core, and that keeps him so grounded. And after achieving so much, he is so grounded. Thank you, Praveen sir, for bringing out so many facets of Prakash sir's life. I'm sure we could have continued this discussion for 2 or 3 hours more. Maybe we can have another episode dedicated for uncovering more about him, maybe in the future.
Absolutely.
So I think there were some quick questions. If we have some time to, Sandeep sir, 5 minutes, can we have some questions?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So Rajiv ji was asking that after doing so much, I mean, I'm paraphrasing his question. after achieving so much, after doing so much, how do you maintain, how are you still so restless? How do you keep up that energy? How are you, not so satisfied till now? How are you looking for more avenues even now? What is the secret behind it?
Yeah, I think there is no secret really. By nature, I'm a restless person. So because I was restless and I wanted to get involved with businesses, that's what I did, right? And now I'm restless and I'm writing. So that it's just sort of sketching or doing whatever, right? So I never found myself bored, what do I do with my time? Actually, my problem always had been, how can I find time to do things I want to do more? And it's just a passion that I personally have developed for myself. I don't know how I got into it, but if I get into something, one particular area, I go to the bottom of it. For example, one time I got into Japanese, I was quoting some Japanese generals, right? So I got into Japanese literature and books and novels and stories. And I could get whatever I could get my hands on. I procured those books and I read those books. And whether they are Thousand Cranes or story of Eiji Yoshikawa's Miyamoto Musashi or whatever, right? And one good thing that has helped my passion, whether it is this or whether it is going to jungles and learning about tigers, whatever, I can go on and on. The benefit that I see for me in this is the success that I have achieved financially has opened up the doors for me to achieve whatever I want to achieve. So some people ask questions, how do you, when do you think you are successful? And what is the definition of success to me? The definition of success to me is not whether I made a traditional $5 million or $10 million or whatever it is. Success to me is I get to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, whosoever I want to do it with. But that's what Kabir said, you become a sadhu. But literally, what my pleasure in what I gotten is that if tomorrow I want to go to visit whatever, I can pick up the bags and go. I'm trying to think about where the bread would come on the table or what would I do with my family or whatever, right? So I think that freedom is what has kept me restless, so to speak.
Sir, I had a question of my own. So you mentioned at the very start of your talk a very interesting point, that entrepreneurship is a vritti. So it is not inherent. It is not inherent, and it is it cannot be cultivated. Rather, it is an inherent thing in an individual. So these days, with the entrepreneurship, which is becoming quite a buzzword, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur these days. But I'm sure not everyone has the proper vritti for it. So how to do a reality check? How to do a reality check that whether an individual is a suitable entrepreneur or not? What is the checklist according to you?
Yeah, I think I try to indirectly answer that question. See, what people get confused with entrepreneurship is
just to stop you, sir. Just to stop you in between. Sorry, just to stop you in between. There was a related question also. Your advice to young and budding entrepreneurs who fail to keep their work together or keep their teams together. Some advice for young and upcoming entrepreneurs. So just in relation to the question I asked, this supplementary question.
I think, I think define entrepreneurship in your own mind, what entrepreneurship is, right? What I define it as a person that can create a direction out of a confusion. Okay, where people get confused, Ashutosh, is if you have an idea, and on your idea, you are trying to build a company, a startup, whatever you're trying to do, right? You are a founder of that idea, not necessarily that you are an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And entrepreneurship is not about the startups, the social entrepreneurs, people who have done social entrepreneurship, they have taken whatever the cause they have taken, whether it's a liberation or whatever. They are kind of getting the people together to create and let people march behind their own tune to get them to a particular location, particular place, particular goal, right? So that tenacity, that restlessness, that ability not to give up and keep trying, these are all our various aspects of the personality of the individual. If that is not in a personality, don't call yourself entrepreneur, but you can find someone that you can join, and with your ability and their ability, you can create whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a startup. I mean, the startup is just, I'm talking about startup because that's my experience. But I see entrepreneurship in all aspects. I see it in social entrepreneurship, political, wherever they are, right?
Yes.
So to answer your question, I think there is entrepreneurship is used mistakenly, that you want to become an entrepreneur means you have an idea and you want to build a business out of an idea. Right?
Yeah.
You may not have the skill set. So what the most important thing is to find people who will complement your skill set, and together the product that comes out is the product that you should be expecting.
Yes.
For example, I see people that come and sometimes you may not have domain expertise, sometimes whatever it is, right? So one time this group of Sun engineers came to me. Okay, they were working with Sun Microsystems. And they had developed a software that would do the analysis of the inventory in the hospital stockroom, because the hospital has lots and lots and lots of little pieces, right? And you can't keep on overstocking stuff because you're tying up the money.
Yes.
And you can understock it because you absolutely need it right there and then.
Yes.
So they had developed a wonderful algorithm, that would keep track and that would keep the inventory at an optimal level on all components. So my very first question was, okay, great, you are great software developers, wonderful job. How many have you worked inside the hospital? Inside the stockroom of a hospital? So no. So then so the domain knowledge was missing, right?
Yes.
I said, find somebody who has run the hospital, the large hospital stockroom. The inside andapillas, they will know. So take your solution, you attach to the domain knowledge of the individual. Now you can create a product that other hospitals would be interested, because it has been sanitized, it has been modulated for the requirement and not just a whatever, right? So I'm just giving it as an example.
Yeah.
So that is what the entrepreneurs, that is what the people should do. Whether if you're an entrepreneur and you think you are restless and you can do all these properties, find an idea that motivates you and convince the person that to join you, and that's what you do, right?
Yes.
The people who have failed, I mean, that's the second question that you asked me in terms of people who have failed. I don't know, you need to sit back and analyze what exactly had gone wrong and what would you have done differently. I mean, it's a very vague question. I don't know how to answer that, because each failure has its own reasons of why it has happened. And that is very important to study so that you don't make the same, you'll make mistakes, but not the same ones.
True. Okay, sir, we could have asked you so many questions, but I think we are running out of time. So maybe next time we will have the pleasure of inviting you again. Now I would like to invite our director, Dr. R.K. Saxena, sir, for his words. Saxena, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Really great talk. Really very great talk today. I listen. Thank you, Prakash Bhalerao ji. Really great your achievements and your experience. We have listened. That was very good and very wonderful, and that will benefited our students and staff and whole institute also. I was seeing that you are electrical engineer in 1970 batch. It means last year you were Golden Jubilee, but due to COVID, I think nobody came to institutes. It was only online.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So please do come because now do come and celebrate in the institute your Golden Jubilee again, and take your all batchmates to the institute, sir. So welcome and thank you very much for your speech. And
My
probably
pleasure.
meet Kankariya ji, and again I am meeting you again in another way. So very good talk by you and very good questions. And you are also completing your 34 year of degree. So next year you will celebrate your 35th year of degree from this JSITS Institute. So, sir, I welcome you both all to the institutes, and we'll do a lot for this benefit of the institutes, upgrade of the institute, knowledge-wise, and a lot of things are there. So just guide us to improve the institutes in better way in country level, in the India level and world level. So thank you, sir, and thank you, Alumni Association, for this 9th very good lecture and very nice lecture series. So thank you also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And congratulations to sir for, as I mentioned in the beginning of today's episode, that under his leadership, we have moved to 181st rank in the NIRF ranking this year. And
Yes, yes. Basically, this NIRF ranking was officially from MHRD, and they started in 2018. And this year, we have jumped 60 position from 242 to 181. No other institute has jumped so far. So this was a great achievement by our faculty, students, and all staff for this. So thank you all, sir. With your support and best wishes, we are doing here. आपके मंदिर के हम पुजारी हैं सर, और हम आपके मंदिर को बहुत अच्छी तरह संवार रहे हैं, और आपको यहाँ आना है, और कबीर के दोहे सुनकर के बहुत अच्छा लगा. Really excited to see you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Sir, anything that I could do to help, please count on.
Yes. I'll discuss with you, sir. I'll discuss in details. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I go on to Dr. Girish Gupta, sir, for his concluding remarks and a formal vote of thanks. So, Girish, sir.
Good evening, everyone. It has been a wonderful session, and I am indeed thankful on behalf of association that I have been given the opportunity to give the vote of thanks. It has been such a wonderful session, especially hearing to Dr. Deepak Phatak sir, Saroj Phatak madam, then of course Engineer Prakash Bhalerao ji, Dr. Rakesh Saxena, Praveen Kankariya ji, and of course our President Sandeep Kansal. So the main thing what I recall from our college days, this Prakash Bhalerao sir, Engineer Prakash Bhalerao sir, I think he was almost synonymous to semiconductor, and that is which he started his career going to the Silicon Valley, then moving to networking and PCs and other things. So if I'm not wrong, sir, you were named as something synonymous to semiconductor, and later on you discussed many things about entrepreneurship, how to become the entrepreneur and how to become a successful entrepreneur, and the things which how to become an angel investor and a venture capitalist, and especially the most fascinating things about you, that is about your Hindi knowledge, about Kabir, your classical music. So many things we came to know. And it was only possible because of Engineer Praveen Kankariya, because he is closely known to you and he has taken us to so many things which are very close to you. Thank you so much, everyone, all the participants on behalf of association. And for your knowledge, we are regularly coming out with the newsletter. And if at all you are not receiving, please do let us know. So we will be in a position to share it with you. Thank you again. Thanks again.
So that's all, respected alumni, that we have for this month. So we see you again in the month of October, before the start of festive season. I'm sure we will have a session before Dussehra next month, October. So till then, have a good time, have a great weekend, Stay safe and take care. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.